The seventh ISAF 2020 raised interesting topics that already became a global interest: halal industry and global prosperity. The topic also in line with the government objective to boost the local and domestic players, which enforce development of Indonesian economy. In line with this, Indonesia has committed to successfully implement the SDGs by achieving the 2030 Development Agenda. The roadmap of Indonesia SDG has also laid down issues and projection of main SDGs indicators in its goal, including its forward-looking policies to achieve such target.
That MSME is a backbone of Indonesian economy. In Indonesia, we have around 64 million MSME, and then it contributes around 61% to our GDP, and also it contributes 97% of the workforce and 14.7% of Indonesian export in 2018. However, 52% of them still considered as informal business. And this is the top 3 of the sector, main sector MSME in Indonesia. Next slide. Yes, unlike the Asian economic crisis back in the 1997 and 1998, MSME saw resilience to economic turmoil, and then it's one of the winner at that time. However, the shock due to COVID-19 pandemic already hit them hard. And how big is this? We try to capture through our study.
The number of MSME tends to increase from 2016 to 2018. The number of MSME was more than 64 million MSME. Very large number in which that certainly has a significant impact on Indonesian economy. Next. The number of workers absorbed by MSME is also very large. This is very important because the more Indonesian people have an income, the better they can meet the family's food needs. The better the level of education of the family, also to some extent help improve the level of family health. Therefore, effective empowerment of MSME is expected to have a significant positive impact on this condition. Next, please. The contribution of MSME to GDP is very interesting because the last 3 years, there has been a significant increase. In 2020, it is expected to be 61%. This certainly affects the progress and resilience of the Indonesia's economy.
So actually, this topic is timely, especially after the world faced like COVID-19. So a lot of the discussing about the impact to the society, the poverty. If based on even the World Bank data also mentioned that because of the continuation of the lockdown and then the closure of a workplace, potentially 70 million people will be in poverty. Even the ILO also mentioned that because of deep COVID-19, potentially 1.6 billion informal workers in the informal economy will lose their job. So it's a huge impact. So this topic basically indirectly can address what will be a potential solution that the world need to think, especially from the Islamic finance practitioner, how we can help in poverty alleviation. So I think thanks to Pak Putu actually, because explain a little bit the linkages between the halal Islamic finance with the SDG and then the Maqasid Sharia. So if we look at the mapping between the halal product, for instance, with SDG, there are several SDG that we can relate with halal product. For instance, SDG 2, 3, no hunger, good health, gender equality, good job, economic growth. and responsible consumption, climate action. So basically, this is SDG. If we relate to halal product, Islamic finance, even the halal lifestyle. Now people talking about the halal travel, halal fashion. So basically, this kind of the principle that actually embedded in Islamic already in line with the Sustainable Development Goals.
So many countries in the world have adopted national SDG plans. Indonesia has been remarkable to the extent that it has drawn Islamic finance into that plan and has specifically utilized Islamic finance for the SDG financing needs of the country. And a few examples I can cite. One is the Green Sukuk Initiative, which is now well in excess of $2 billion of sukuk that have been raised that are in line with green principles. And so that is part of the SDG financing plan. Basnas, which was mentioned earlier, the National Zakat Agency of Indonesia, has made a very remarkable commitment, which is to, over time, ensure that all of its programs are supportive of the SDGs. So it started, their work is a 3-phase plan, and the final phase is to have every single project which is funded by Zakat through Basnas be SDG aligned, measured, and tracked. And to my knowledge, it is the first national Zakat agency to take that step. So that's something that certainly calls for recognition. The work around Waqf principles and how Awqaf can be used, endowments can be used for SDG financing is something that, again, where Indonesia has been a pioneer. There's been work around empowering NGOs, empowering farmers, and the list goes on. So really there's much to be said in recognition of the Republic of Indonesia and how its SDG financing plan has been so innovative in drawing on Islamic finance in the solution. And indeed, for us as UNDP and the United Nations more broadly, we are a faith-neutral institution. So we do not promote Islamic finance on a religious basis. We don't take any positions when it comes to religious law, or whether that be Islamic law or any other faith tradition. However, we're very keen to see whatever financial flows are taking place align better with the SDGs. And when we see in Indonesia and in many countries around the world that Islamic finance is of systemic importance, it plays an important role in the commercial financial system and also is so important from a social finance perspective, we certainly like to see and encourage that these stakeholders align their work with the SDGs.
So with this last decade of action where, it seeks to mobilize everybody and everywhere, so creating those partnerships and calling on those partnerships, there's the demand and urgency, and ambition to actually come together to fight climate change, to conquer injustice, to achieve gender inequality. We're seeing, so much, social unrest. Even recently in Nigeria, there was one that happened that basically shut down. So definitely you're seeing that shift from capitalism to stakeholder capitalism, where, companies are now realizing how the importance of actually thinking outwards as well, including their social impact, their economic impact, and how they're contributing to the development of their host communities. And of course, there's the call to supercharge ideas and solution. So, we just have 10 years. There's a lot of gap, a lot of deficits. And of course, it requires doing something very bold, audacious, different. And we're also in a very disruptive era with technology disruption, consumer behavior disruption, people disruption, multifaceted disruption. So of course, we need to, there's a lot of innovation required. So now, in what ways can MSMEs, help in achieving SDGs, and how does Sharia economics, and the halal industry come in? it is an inclusion pathway. So, the demand for diverse, pathways, to economies and all that has led to, for example, the Sharia economic system and the halal industry. And of course, it's gained a lot of traction. But what's even interesting is the diversity of, the halal sector. So beyond just food, pharma and cosmetics, you're seeing it go to even lifestyle. You're seeing it go to even funding, for sustainable infrastructure. In Nigeria, for example, such as the Sukuk bonds. In Nigeria, for example, Nigeria has successfully launched, the Sukuk bond market. I don't know if you all know, Nigeria is predominantly Muslim, but there are many people that felt excluded from participating in normal bond market. But with the Sukuk bond, there's the inclusion, and the Sukuk is used to finance infrastructure. So there's that inclusion, and there's also financing the much needed physical infrastructure.